So, Mark, how does the up and down of the market in agriculture affect sustainable agriculture?
Well, the past year or two have been really interesting for what it's done for sustainable agriculture farmers and farmers in general. Is we've seen the price of corn skyrocket, and as that skyrocketed, you had more and more farmers growing corn. That changed the market from being more of a rotation, going to corn, to soybeans, to alfalfa, to other things. People growing corn, 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 year after year. And so from a sustainable agriculture perspective, we want to have that long rotation, and we're losing that when you have these crop bursts, when you have really high corn prices and really low other prices. That's when we lose our sustainable agriculture practices.
Why are we seeing such volatility in agriculture markets?
We did a little look at this and why there's such volatility over the past year, and there are a whole host of reasons. I think corn-based ethanol in the United States is often pointed to as being the culprit. And it is definitely one reason why we have high corn prices is because of the use of corn ethanol. There are a host of other reasons, weather issues throughout the world, different trade issues. There's a whole host of things that are going on that have caused many commodity prices to spike. I think the key issue, though, is not just to say that corn ethanol is a problem. It could very well. There is parts of it that have been an issue, or with our trading system is a problem, or the weather issues, or whatever. There's so many things that we can point to, but I think the key issue that we have to point out is that the sustainability of the system is that we are not as resilient as we have been in past years. So that we have some bad weather in Australia and all of a sudden wheat prices spike. We shouldn't have a system that has lost its resiliency, and so weather issues, commodity issues, sustainability and subsidy issues are going to cause it to go off keel. We need to have a system that can maintain providing enough food for people year in, year out, rather than the system that we're currently having.
Well, what would a system like that look like? How could we be more resilient?
I think one of the keys to this is just so that we can maintain our supply of commodities year in, year out and not have these price spikes. The volatility in the markets helps some of the traders and the buyers and sellers, they can make money off this. Farmers rarely make money. They might make money the past year or two. They might make some money because of the high commodity prices, but it looks like they're going down quite a bit now, and we're probably going to have farmers losing money for several years now. I think the key is to maintain a fair price for farmers for the main commodities, corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, rice, for these main commodities. If we can have a fair price for the farmers and then a fair price for the consumers, and so that we know that the consumers aren't going to get bilked, as it's been pretty tough over the past year with the spiking prices, especially in less developed countries. We want to have a system where we can have a supply management system, and so if we'll have enough of a corn reserve, just like the strategic oil reserve, that when we need it, we can get some supply from that reserve corn or soybeans, and then when we have prices are too low, we can put some supply into those systems and then take some of that commodity off the market.
So how would a more stable system encourage sustainability on the farm?
I think one of the keys to that is that right now you have farmers that are following prices. And so instead of following a crop rotation system, following what's good for the soil and the land, they're following the prices. And so they see corn was up, way up earlier this spring. It's come down quite a bit now, but so we had an awful lot of corn plantings because of that high corn price. So farmers aren't maybe following their soybean rotation with corn, or they're doing other things because they want to make sure they can capture those high prices. I think the key is to try to have it so that farmers, if they know that they're going to get a fair price for all these commodities, they're more likely to have a rotation. And so that we'll have a more sustainable agriculture, because we won't have farmers trying to maximize production as much as they might have been in the past. And they'll be more willing to try having a couple of years of alfalfa, which is great for building up soil quality, rather than just growing corn year after year after year. I think another key aspect that we have to be thinking about is about climate change, and that we're going to have an environment that is more volatile in the next decades than it is right now. So we're probably going to have more of these weather events, more droughts, more flooding, more things like this. And so we can probably expect more volatility in these commodity markets unless we get a system that can help manage some of these peaks and valleys. So I think as we go forward, we're going to have farmers, climate change is going to put more pressure both on the soil and water resources as well as pressure on these commodity markets. So let's get a system that's more resilient than what we currently have.
Does the volatility discourage more climate-friendly agriculture production?
Yeah, I think one of the benefits of having long crop rotations and having perennials in that mixture, things like alfalfa or switchgrass or things like that, one of those benefits is it builds up carbon in the soil. We've lost a tremendous amount of carbon in the soil over the past century when we've tilled the land. And so a lot of those carbon dioxide emissions have contributed to our greenhouse gas emissions and climate change. We can reverse some of that by getting some of that carbon back into the soil. And good farming practices can do that, get that carbon back into the soil. We also, with good farming practices, we use less of the fossil fuels. We use less of the chemicals, the energy-intensive nitrogen fertilizers. By using less of those, we're emitting less greenhouse gases also. And so a good sustainable farming is also a good climate-friendly farming.